when you look at this stuff is the observation of it must be observed with absolutely no motive whatsoever. But and our goal is to observe everything because our higher self is at its core the observer. And so this observer is what we are, but we think we're this other thing. And when we observe, if we observe with a motive, we identify with the other thing and it starts taking us in circles again and it starts trying to make a plan, starts to calculate and starts to come up with all kinds of stuff. And so what you're doing now is you're really starting to see the how much basically just how much RAM that it's sucking up. And as it's sucking that up, you're getting identified with it. And as if you the more you sit as the observer, the more as you sit as just this openness and you come back to your body. And when you get here at first, it's not going to feel open. It feels like hell. This is what it is. It's like we've been in hell. And so it's like this thing does not feel good at all. It feels contracted and it's just, all the time and it's fearful. And so as you come here and you get to that, really our goal is to observe that, but we can't observe it because every time we observe it, something labels it and says, well, it's probably because I didn't get this done. Let me go run off and do it. Or let me plan this other spiritual thing. So a spiritual ego can start to develop as you pull away from basically your standard conditioning that you have that made you you. A spiritual ego will try and develop and try and bring in all these kinds of things. So when you see something that's wanting to punish you for not being in alignment with the law of attraction, that's basically the same old pattern, because we're looking for the pattern, not really what it's showing you, but the underlying pattern behind it. That's the same old pattern, but now it's covered in garlands. It says, I have this new thing to do. And so I've got a new pursuit to go after, and it should be the law of attraction. And now this is the reason that I, maybe mildly punish myself. And so it's always wanting to find a different pursuit so that it can find out how it either has an enemy or how it is its own enemy. And so you're really coming down to how subtle what all of this learning is about to find out what it is. It's really the light that you are is being obscured. And it is simple as that. And when we become the observer, that light shines on these things. 99% of them don't require anything to do with them, these patterns, because they're the patterns beneath what it's doing. So it might be concerned about tomorrow's project, but what is it to be concerned? For me, not for you, not this idea of concern, what Webster's dictionary says, but what is it to be concerned in this moment? And it's like, well, yeah, I should have some sort of interest in getting the project done on time. But then there's these like two or three other things that I see in this pattern that are just burdening it and it's dripping with this filth. And it's like, if I see that filth, it corrects it because I've seen it. I'm not just subject to it. And it basically is this wicked master over me. I've become the observer and I'm just no longer capable of taking you over. And so all that drippy, ugly stuff falls off. And you say, yeah, it's important to get the job done by tomorrow, but I don't need to put myself in I see this psychological painfully thing that's coming in. Well, I can see that. Seeing it is the end of it, severs it, cuts it away, cuts the attachment. So I no longer am required to feel when I see a future task. I can look at it. I can reason out that it's a good idea to start it on Thursday, so it's done by Monday, but I don't have to worry. I can see what worry is. It's no longer just an idea. I can see it live. And what happens is the more that you see live, the mind will actually come along to help you with this, because that's basically what it's been trying to do all these years, but it's causing us to be in hell. It will come through inductive reasoning. It will see the relationship between these little things that don't feel like they're important to catch, but they're like pulling out thorns. But as you start pulling these thorns out, suddenly the mind gets the idea on its own of like what this thorn is. Oh, this is me. And it might come with a concept at first. This is me punishing myself because when I was a kid, and it'll show you some picture and you say, okay, now I can watch what it is to punish. And so as I see what it is to punish, now I'm not just pulling out thorns off of this thing, but I'm starting to cut off branches. And after I get enough branches cut, my mind through reasoning says, I see the limb of this problem. I can lop it off. And so the more of these small things that we get, the more the mind starts looking for them. And then eventually it's like this thing that would keep you caught for 2 or 3 weeks at a time now keeps you caught for, say, a day, and then an hour, and then 10 minutes. And then, oh, I see it. I get rid of it right away. And then one day it stopped bringing it. It's like there's a core problem, there's a core issue, which is there's something inside that needs to attack. There's basically something inside that holds grievances against literally everything and anything, and some things that are just merely hallucinated, or all of them are merely hallucinated, but some of them don't even make sense. It has the sake of grievances so that it can survive. And when you see that thing, when you see it at its core, the whole thing vanishes.